You're watching TOON Army TV. Welcome back to the channel. Just when Newcastle United are making signings and will look like going in the right direction, the negativity comes back. Everything comes out in the wash. But it's come out, in my opinion, a little bit too late. Maybe a few months too late. The war continues between Newcastle United and the Premier League after the club's failed takeover of the PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. Now, the story goes way back to March, April time when there was interest in Mike Ashley selling the club to the PIF, who were looking to make Newcastle one of the powerhouses in the Premier League, one of the world's greatest, richest clubs, going out to compete for titles and making Newcastle great again. And we had, thoughts in my mind that Newcastle United could be back on track and we could see the glory days potentially returning to St James's Park. And we had dreams, but only for them to be dashed in late July, August time when the PIF pulled out. Now, it was a dragged out process. The Premier League, of course, weren't happy with it, and something had happened in the background. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of the PIF. I don't know what the Premier League are, wanting in terms of the owners and directors test, but there's been some back and forth from Newcastle United and the Premier League in the last 24 hours. There's been two statements. I did release a video last night on the Newcastle United statement, but I later took that video down because I wanted to see what the Premier League said in response, and it's come via Keith Downey's Twitter. And I want to try and read both statements and get a balanced point of view before making a real judgment. And it's become a bit of a soap opera, really, between Newcastle and the Premier League. It's not really wanted going into the new season. It's not going to help matters, and it's like two kids fighting in the playground. They're trying to get at each other, bickering, and who throws the first punch first and then who throws the second punch. And that's what it's becoming. And that's not what this club needs right now. That's not what the supporters need. And the Premier League are not backing down from what Newcastle United has said last night. So Newcastle United can confirm that the Premier League has rejected a takeover bid by PCP Capital Partners, the Reuben Brothers, and the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, based on its owners and directors test. That is the statement. I'll continue with this conclusion has been reached despite the club providing the Premier League with overwhelming evidence and legal opinions that the PIF is independent and autonomous of the Saudi Arabian government. The club and its owners do not accept that the Premier League Chief Executive Richard Masters and the Premier League have acted appropriately in relation to this matter and will be considering all relevant options available to them. Mike Ashley understands fans' frustrations and would like to reassure them that he has been fully committed to ensuring this takeover process reached completion, as he felt it was in the best interests of the club. Mike continues to be fully supportive to Steve Bruce, the players and the staff, and wishes them all well for the up-and-coming season. Now, Newcastle United are not happy with the Premier League. They don't feel like Richard Masters and the board of directors have done their job by the sounds of it. The PIF apparently or allegedly put through documents to the Premier League that, they are what they say they are, and the Premier League aren't having it. So Newcastle United have fought back a few months later after the PIF had, pulled out. And I accepted that the PIF had pulled out because with what happened in the background with, alleged reports of what's going on in Saudi Arabia, and with all the failed takeovers in the past, you can kind of understand why I gave up hope around June time that the longer it sort of panned out that it wasn't going anywhere, you could see a poor statement coming from Sky Sports. And it's now come apparent that both have fought back just days before the season starts. And what poor timing, I can say, by the Premier League and Newcastle United in a sense. But I can see, where our club's coming from, because Mike Ashley, wants to sell the football club. That's apparent, that's fact. And just as well because, 13 years of utter dross, yes, he's brought in some decent players now, but he has no interest in the football club. He wants to put all his interest in his businesses like Sports Direct, House of Fraser, you name it. And he wants to put Newcastle United in safe hands where we can actually compete and look to, climb the Premier League table. And he now knows that enough is enough. His time's up. The fans are against him, and it doesn't matter what he does. The fans will always be against him for what's happened in the past. You could go on about, getting rid of Rafa, getting rid of Chris Hughton, and, sacking off Kevin Keegan, and poor transfers, and bringing in people like Joe Kinnear, etc., and relegations, and I think he knows that if he wants to leave on better terms, you've got to give Newcastle the best, interest, the best chance of being, taken over by an owner that has money that can get Newcastle back into that top four. That's what I want. That's what you want if you're a Newcastle fan. And the Premier League have fought back in a statement by Keith Downey, so thank you for that. And he has had to say this via the Premier League. It is also incorrect to suggest that the decisions were taken by individual Richard Masters. They were agreed unanimously by the Premier League Board of Members. So the Board of Members have obviously voted against the PIF taking over Newcastle United. Of course, they've got to come to a vote, but it was reported last night via Newcastle's official website that Richard Masters was against the takeover, and it was dragging out for so long, and it was really frustrating because Richard Masters wasn't saying anything, and he hasn't said anything until this week properly in terms of getting a statement out there to the fans. We've had to send out petitions, man. That shouldn't happen. And I do blame a little bit of Newcastle United not actually keeping the fans up to date. Yes, you could say it's a legal matter, which is understandable, but both the Premier League and Newcastle should have kept the fans up to date because our fans were suffering with mental health because of what was going on, and it shouldn't be the case. This has been going on for too long now, where we've had all these different owners and they've just failed at the last minute, or it's just not been true. At least I can say that this one, had legs to it. It was true in the end. I wasn't too sure at first because if you've seen it all before, you can understand where I'm coming from. Now, the Premier League, they really need to look at themselves here. They need to look at, what is their owners and directors test? What is it about? What do they want in terms of, allowing an owner to buy a football club? Because I really believe now that we've lost a chance to potentially be one of the greatest clubs, to be competing with the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, of those clubs at the top, and we're back to reality of Mike Ashley at mid-table. That's not what I want. I want to see this club, reach its full potential, and we know that. We know it can do. We've got the best supporters down the country, up and down the country, around the world, and you can't beat our fan base. Going down to Brighton on a Tuesday night, man, and packing out the stadiums and full houses, quarter kickoffs and that, and filling out we're stadium in the Championship, the second division. That just goes to show how passionate we are. We're a football mad city, and we're just getting screwed over, by the Premier League. And yes, other fans will have different opinions of it, and there was rumours that Liverpool and Tottenham rejected the takeover. I'm not going to get into the politics of that because at the end of the day, I like Liverpool and Tottenham. I have nothing against them. But if it is true, then I feel it is poor because Newcastle United aren't really a threat, I would say, to Liverpool fans or Tottenham fans. We're just an everyday football club who wants to, see success and compete. And we have a good relationship with both clubs. And I don't like this, so-called top six of what the Premier League are trying to do. They're trying to look after the top six, but the rest of the clubs lower down, like Leicester, Wolves, us, West Ham, just to name a few, Everton, we're all just left in the dark. And I just feel it's really frustrating. And I'm kind of glad it's come out in the wash now, but it's really frustrating because potentially we could be something else right now. We could be looking to climb the Premier League table and we can't do it. We're going to look forward to maybe a top 10 finish if it clicks with the signings of Callum Wilson, Fraser, Jamal Lewis, Hendrick, and obviously Mark Gillespie, who's going to be a backup keeper. But still, we could do with so much more. We could have competed in the Cups, with having this takeover. But I'm kind of glad that we've got the word out now. Are the Saudis going to come back? Never say never, but it looks like now that they're going to keep away from the club and we're maybe going to have to look elsewhere. Don't get me wrong, there'll probably be another takeover around Christmas, around Easter, next summer. That's just standard at this football club. But like I say, I don't really know the ins and outs of obviously the PIF and what they were trying to do and the documents and stuff like that. All I can say is that they filed the documents into the Premier League. The board of directors or the members weren't happy about it. Newcastle United released a statement. They weren't happy. They were going to take legal action. Newcastle obviously, want to take it further because Mike Ashley wants to sell. But of course, the Premier League have fought back, which is, fair enough. But, they could have done it a bit sooner rather than now because the season's starting and we don't want the lads to, feel under any pressure of a takeover or anything like that. We've been through the mill before. And again, it just goes down to poor timing. But at least you can take a bit of confidence from the statement from Newcastle United that Mike Ashley is supportive of Steve Bruce. He's positive, that we're going to do something in the season. He wants to, support the club and, keep it ticking over the course of the season. And that can only be a good thing. He wants to sell the club, so that's a positive. And like I say, that can only be, a positive going, forward, that potentially he could sell the club in the next few months, or you could sell it, later down the line, hopefully maybe going into the end of the season, next season. But yeah, it's just standard at this football club. I'm sick of talking about the takeover. It's frustrating. It hasn't happened, but I just feel like the timing could have been a little bit earlier, in my opinion. But there we go. That is the statement from the Premier League. They fought back after Newcastle have threatened legal action. And we'll wait and see where it goes. Of course, with a club that might end up taking it further, or they might back down given what the Premier League have said. But I'd like to think Newcastle United, the club, will stand its ground and do what's best in the interest of the supporters, of the whole club's future going forward. But, having this negativity so far surrounding the football club, after what's been a decent week of signing players, isn't going to be good, isn't great. It's not what we need. But I'm going to try and remain positive, of course, for the new season, because, we need to stay positive. We can't just, think about the takeover all the time. We need to think about, the lads who are, putting on that black and white shirt and going out to perform, match in, match out. And at least we've got a bit of clarity. That's what I can say. That's what we needed. But again, I'll repeat for probably the 5th or 6th time, it should have come out a lot earlier, in my opinion. And at least now we could sort of go forward in the short term with Mike Ashley, and then hopefully longer term, we can be the club that we want to be, which is to be competing with the very best and getting back into Europe, because this club, in my opinion, deserves it. Out of any club that's going to be taken over by a filthy rich owner, it's Newcastle United Football Club, in my opinion. So I hope I sort of explained everything from the Newcastle United statement to the Premier League statement this afternoon. But from my sort of side of things, Newcastle aren't happy, and neither are the Premier League. So both are in a no-win situation, if you ask me. But we just need to get it sorted out, man, sort this out. And the quicker we get Mike Ashley out, the better. If we could really focus on, what could be a positive future. Like I say, whether you like Richard Masters or not, I don't particularly like him. At least they've come out and said something in response. So it's not just down to him, it's down to the board of members. But then at least Newcastle have come out and said something to the supporters, because we deserve the truth at the end of the day, of what's going on. And it is very disappointment from my side of things to the Premier League, because at the end of the day, it could have been dragged out so much better than what they have done, over the course of the last 15, 16, 17 weeks. And at least now we've got, what we need in terms of what we need to try and do, to try and move forward. And it's frustrating, I know, I get it. And I don't think we're going to hear the end of this. I really don't think that Newcastle are going to back down. I feel like we're going to do something. The Premier League aren't going to back down, of course, because they've got to protect, that top 6. And then you could say, oh, they've got to protect all 20 clubs, which I don't kind of agree with. But that's just my personal opinion. So, yeah, it's just been a bit of a nightmare in the end, isn't it? It's been dragging out for too long now, and it should never have dragged out for this long. Never, ever. Because other clubs, their takeovers go through in the space of a few weeks, a month at least. But this one, have the Premier League got a vendetta against Newcastle? You could say yes, you could say no. But at the end of the day, at least we kind of know where we stand on the whole matter. The PIF wanted to buy the club, they pulled out. But you could argue, could the PIF have stuck around a bit longer? Yes. And if they had done, then for me, I reckon they could have passed the fit and proper persons test. But because they pulled out, I think they made it easy for the Premier League to sort of reject them. And then they're coming out and saying that they haven't. So at the end of the day, somebody's lying. Somebody is lying, in my opinion. Because you don't just drag out a takeover like this. You look at the Premier League as well. They've lost valuable income coming from China, because they've now pulled out of investment in the Premier League. And now they're rejecting the PIF, the royal family of Saudi Arabia, who've got filthy rich money and could have made the Premier League more competitive. The Premier League need more competitive clubs in this league. We need potentially 10 clubs competing for the title to make it interesting, because the same old top 6, it does just get boring. It's too predictable. But then you look at the likes of Leicester and Blackburn winning the Premier League, they've given everybody hope. But I just feel like with the money that's in the Premier League, but with welcome investment from Saudi Arabia, it would really have benefited the league going forward. That's just my personal opinion. I would say that as a Newcastle fan, because with the money that was there. But, you know, Richard Masters needs to be careful, because with him losing money, you know, from the likes of China pulling out, he's not really doing himself any justice in terms of being a Premier League chief executive. I understand why they've done what they've done in terms of the decision, but I also understand the club's point of view, because at the end of the day, I'm a supporter. We deserve the truth. And so, like I say, a fair play to Keith Downey for, you know, putting out the tweet. At least we've got a little bit of clarity of what's going on. But like I say, it's going to drag on further, I can say it. And it's Newcastle United versus the Premier League at war due to the failed takeover of the PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. So let me know down below in the comments what you make of it all. And yeah, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're close to 3,300 subscribers, less than 30 away now. I've got a West Ham United preview out on the channel with a West Ham fan, so check that out. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you never miss a video from myself. Make sure you hit that thumbs up as well. The more thumbs up we get, the better. It just means the channel is getting more promotion, and I really want to kick on the channel for the new season and try and do, you know, more regular content, try and do something different outside the box. And if you have any channel ideas, just let me know down below in the comments. I'm trying to do daily content, trying to be more you know, reliable this season than I was maybe the season before. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Keep it tuned. See you later.